Hey, thanks for watching Square Type, the channel showcasing easy to follow pop-up card tutorials and demo videos. This is a demo video, however, it will have step-by-step instructions, even though I said my demo videos would never do that. Um, they're mostly either just music or me babbling throughout the video. I will be babbling. However, I did include the step-by-steps here on text because I was asked by a viewer to actually try to make this DIY blinds mechanism, and I had never done one before, and um, this viewer actually asked me to look at somebody else's video and try to explain how that mechanism was made, because when they tried to do it themselves, it didn't really work out. So I watched the video and I tried to make it myself over a dozen times, and it didn't work out for me either. And I realized it was because I have big fat sausage fingers and I'm terrible at measuring things and not so great with math. So I had to come up with a solution that would work for me. So I came up with a few little things. For example, I made a template and then I just followed the template. So when I'm measuring things, my first measurement is usually just fine. Then the next measurement is slightly off, and then the next is more off, and then by the end I'm completely off and nothing works. So I decided to make a template, and in that template I've made all the measurements I could as precisely as I could, but you're gonna see that it's still a little bit off anyway. But the little things that I've come up with has made it possible to still pull off the blinds and still make it work, and actually make it work smoothly without the paper catching on one layer or the next. So again, the step-by-step instructions are on text here, and I'm not going to really talk about the details because this is a demo video and it is based on somebody else's video that's already out there. Actually, not just one person, I found a number of them, and they were all using the exact same methods, and I needed a way that would work for me because, again, of my problems. So here you see me cutting out a keyhole. That's one of the things that I came up with. The first one was making a template with all the measurements, and then I'm just using that template to transfer to the different pieces of paper that I'm going to use. I also found the center of the page, and then I made a keyhole that would go from the top portion of the frame to the middle of the page, and I'll show you that again later on in the video. So here I've got my template of the frame, and it's got all the measurements on it once again, and I can now use that to put on my image. So another thing that wasn't mentioned is, well, you can use printer paper or cardstock, whatever you want for your paper, but if you have an image that you have to glue onto a piece of paper, it's not going to work because it's going to catch onto the different layers of the blinds. And with every disadvantage, it kind of just amplifies as you go further in the project. So the best thing to do is just print out an image onto a piece of paper, and that way you can have the nice frame all the way around, like that buffer spacer area all the way around the pictures, the images, and then you can put your measurements on there, and you can, you know, cut out the blinds, etc., and you don't have to make these teeny tiny little measurements. You'll notice that all my measurements are close to an inch thick because the round numbers work better for me. um, it also looks good on the video. Um, one of the on this frame here, I forgot to elongate one of the lines on the set on the left side of the screen. That's okay. I'll do that later. So the best thing to do is just print out 2 color copies and 2 black and white copies, right? 2 duplicates. But I don't have a printer that's working, so I had to make my duplicates by hand, and I used my little makeshift light box. I just put a tablet underneath my plastic Tupperware cover here, and I tried to transfer the image as best I could. So really all you need are 2 duplicates, and printouts are really the best way to go. This method kind of works, but you're going to have to be really precise with this, and I'm not terribly precise. That's why I made these really general drawings that are easy to transfer, but could have been better, I guess. Okay, so now I'm drawing in those lines that I missed transferring from the template. It's just the edges of the frame up at the top and bottom. So there I have 2 sets of duplicates, and here comes the important part, or one of the important parts. So I'm just going to face them all in the same direction, and now what you do is just stick them into 2 stacks like this. So they have to be like this, right? The same image on top, same image on the bottom. And now you can make your cuts. So each one has 5 lines, 5 equidistant lines from the top of the image to the bottom of the image. I'm going to cut out the second line from the top, straight through both images. And now I'm going to cut out the 4th line from the top, straight through. So there I'm done with the first set, and now to the second set. Now I'm going to cut the odd numbers. So the first line, and then the 3rd line, and finally the 5th line. Because I'm making 4 blinds, 4 blinds would make 5 lines. So the lines you know, just need to be cut pretty straight. I just made a little error there with my blade, so I'm just kind of cleaning it up a little bit. So keep yourself from being too confused. Go ahead and stack the images so that it makes the faces. So here, let me just put them into their sets the way they were when they weren't cut, and then I'm going to put them in the position they're supposed to be in. See how each of the blinds has a line straight down the middle? Now, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the bottom up. So you have 5 sets of blinds, but you only need 4 sets. So you only need 4 blinds. So you got to get rid of either the top or the bottom. So depending on where your pull tab is going to be, you get rid of the opposite. So my pull tab is going to be at the top, so I got rid of the bottom set. Now I can start gluing. So you're gonna glue the new bottom to the pull tab. So I just marked where that bottom would end, and then put glue on my glue tab and place that bottom there. Next, try to match the image with the overlapping image. See that? So now the mouth looks like it's just one mouth instead of 2 overlapping ones. And then just mark out the top where that image meets the pull tab. And then about 1 centimeter down, I'm just eyeballing it, that's okay. I'm going to put glue inside within those 2 lines. Don't cross the lines, like don't put glue outside of those lines, because you don't want the image to stick anywhere else but inside of those lines. Okay, so I kind of glued outside of it, so I'm pushing the glue back in. I'm just going to wipe this off a little bit because you really want the glue to just be between those two lines. And now match up the image again. So the mouth is what I'm matching up there. And so now it's on. I went to the next image until I finished the whole picture. Now I'm marking off from the side about 1 centimeter from the inside line to the outside. 1 centimeter. And then I'm going to trim that. And on the back side, I'm marking off where the pull tab is, just at the top, and then where the next blind starts. See that? I'm going to trim all this off and trim the sides off like this. This is so it fits inside of the other set of blinds. You'll see it in a minute. So let me just trim off that top, and this is purely aesthetic. Trimming off the top is just personal preference. I think it looks nicer if you trim it off, but you can leave it on. It doesn't really affect the mechanism at all if you leave it on. Okay, so see how it's going to shift inside of that? The glue would be on the outside, so that's how that would work. So you take your frame base again, and you just transfer the measurement of the frame onto the frame base, and then glue the image to the spot where the image should be, and that's inside of the frame. Do you see that? It's about 1 inch from the bottom. That's where the frame was, the frame opening for the image. Okay, so now I'm going to line up the next blind so the image lines up and the overlaps are in there. And I just put my blinds, my pull tab blinds back on, and then put my my red one in there, and just as far up as I could get it. And now I'm just going to mark where the intersection of that blind, the next blind, and the pull tab is. See? Okay, so instead of meeting those two lines, I'm going to instead just cut out a U, like that, a U shape. And that's going to allow for a smoother kind of shifting of the paper instead of making it into a very rigid line. That channel, if it's too rigid, what happens is you have more possibility for the paper to catch. So I'm just preventing that by making it smoother, and that way the paper won't catch. Okay. So that top layer you're seeing me cut right now is longer than the other layers, so I just trimmed it according to the size of the other layers. I'm not really going to fuss about it. So now they're all the same size, and I can just glue them all on now. See how it can shift? So to do that, you have to make sure that the glue line is at maximum about 1.5 centimeters in from the edge. So I just marked that, kind of eyeballed it really, and that way it can shift. See that? That pull tab can shift. Okay, so now I just have to put glue behind that line, and then I can slide it into its place right underneath the second pull tab, the second blind, and just making sure that the images still line up to the image underneath it. This third one was easy to do. I just lined it up with the lines because the image was really just a red field. So that was good. And then the last one was actually the eyes. So that was really critical that I line up the eyes, the edges of the eyes with the one underneath. Okay, so back to the keyhole. So the key will be attached to the pull tab and travel along that hole on the back of the card. So I'm taking a piece of paper that's about 1.5 inches long, and I'm going to make a key out of it. The way to do that is to make a zigzag like that, and then fold over the other side, so now you have a U, and then zigzag one side like this, and then do the same thing to the other side in the other direction, and that way it forms a T. See that? Okay. Now that's the key. All you have to do is flip over the card and slip it into the keyhole like this. You just slip one at a time those two open pieces into the keyhole, and then it'll be attached to the pull tab. So first thing to do is push the image all the way down to the bottom of the image, and then line up the side lines. See the lines on the sides? Line them up with the lines on the image underneath, and also line up the bottom. Just make sure it's straight. And then put glue on the key. Just open it up. Open up just the bottom of the key like this and place glue on it. And then you can, one at a time, just put it inside the keyhole at the lowest part of the keyhole. And that is the middle of the card. So you just insert one side, make sure it sticks to the pull tab, and then insert the other side. It's not that hard to do. And that's it. And that's going to keep the slider from going too far and popping off of the card. That'll keep the pull tab from pulling all the way out. Okay, so now we're going to make the frame. I'm just cutting out, marking out the edges, and on the inside what I want to do is measure about 0.5 centimeters from the edge toward the inside all the way around. I'm doing this so that the marks that I made on the blinds don't really show. They already don't show, but every once in a while it shifts, and then you can see a little bit of white here and there, and that got kind of annoying. So I just made the frame a little bit smaller on the inside opening so that it hides all of those little measurement lines that I made. So I'm just going to trim this out. Right now you have the option of leaving the top part really long like this so that it hides the ugliness of the pull tab, the top of the pull tab. You'll see. Let me lift this up so you can see it. See that top area there? See the white? So not so great. If it was an inch, like where it's supposed that frame's supposed to be, it would show. But if you use that long side, it wouldn't show. Or you could do what those videos say, and that's just, push it over and cover that up. So I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to cut it off right here and glue it down. And now it's all pretty. And isn't that nice? So I'm going to go ahead and trim my frame so it's 1 inch all the way around, just like my template showed, except for the smaller hole in the middle. I'm just going to trim the edges of my my blinds here because some of them were slightly a little bit off, which is fine. And now I can see how it slides. Now I can attach my frame to it. Yeah. Yeah, the pull tab is now too short. So that's okay. That's part of crafting. You're just crafting. It's supposed to be part of play. So I'm just going to extend it, no problem. I'm taking a couple of, I think these are 2.5 inches long pieces of paper, and I'm just kind of shoving it in there kind of as far as it can go to extend the pull tab. And then I'm going to sandwich the old pull tab with these 2 pieces of paper so that it's nice and sturdy, and it's also it looks clean. So now I can cut it to the right length, and it doesn't have a problem anymore. Now I can pull up and down and no problem. Okay, now we're at the last part, just attaching the frame. So notice how the blinds still have to be able to freely move up and down. You have to attach the frame only on the edges so that the blinds don't get caught up in the glue. So I'm only putting glue on the edges of my frame, 3 edges of the frame, about 1 centimeter in from the edge. I'm leaving the top open because I don't want the top of the pull tab area, the top blind, to get stuck on the glue up there. So I just didn't put any glue at the top. But if you find you can put glue up there and it doesn't mess with the mechanism, more power to you. I just couldn't get it to work right for me. But this is the design that I came up with, and this is the mechanism that I think is much easier to make and a little bit more foolproof. However, it still does take a long time. But I hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Bye! Let me know if you liked or disliked this video. Leave me a comment below, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to my channel, Square Type.